Welcome to the Related Services Data Tracking System. To get started, we're going to follow the Quick Start Guide. In this section, we're going to make a copy, authorize the scripts, set triggers, add URLs, and approve the safeguards. If you don't already have a copy, go to the user manual and scroll down to the Quick Start Guide and click here to make a copy. It's going to ask you to enter your email address, and then it will ask you if you want updates about bug fixes or other things that come up. I can assure you I am never going to email you if I don't need to, and I don't sell anything, so I have no marketing to do. Once you have done that, you'll click Make a Copy, and then you will make a copy. It might take a few seconds for your copy to be generated, so just hold tight and wait for that copy to pop up. Once you have your copy of the data tracker, you can change the name because the name will be Copy of Related Services Data Tracker, so you can actually name it whatever you want. I usually put the name of the school district I'm using it for just to help me keep it straight. And then you'll click the button that says click here to authorize scripts. You're going to click OK. If you're using a personal account like this one, you may get this message that says Google hasn't verified this app. You're going to click Advanced and go to Related Services Data Tracker. You'll click Continue, and it will give you a dire warning. You'll click all of the options and then continue again. And that will allow the scripts to run that make the sheet work. And then you're just going to fill in your basic information, what discipline you are, your name and credentials, how you want to be listed in the sheet. Then you're going to go back to your Google Drive because we need to make a folder where we can keep this sheet. So in your Google Drive, you'll click New Folder. You're going to name the folder. You can name it whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. And click Create to create that new folder. Back in your data sheet, you're going to click the folder icon at the top and move your sheet into that new folder. So you'll see that it was moved. Then go back to your drive and find the two forms that were copied, the teacher consultation form and the student work sample form. And you're going to move both of those into your new folder that you created. Just find the name of the form, click the three dots all the way to the right, click Organize and Move, and then move it to that new folder that you created. You'll see if you open your folder, now all three things are in the folder. And now you can copy the URL to that folder, go back to your data sheet and paste the URL in the correct cell. Make sure that you have pasted the URL. It might ask you if you want it to be a link or if you want it to be a chip, and you do not. So if it looks like this, like a link, it will not work. It needs to be the actual URL, that long thing with all the letters and numbers that looks like it doesn't make any sense, but that's what it needs to be. Then you can go back to your folder, open your student work samples form, and you will be prompted to restore a folder. So click Restore and Continue. And then you're going to copy the URL to that form and paste it into the correct cell of your data tracker. If you want to use the teacher consultation feature, you need to create a pre-filled form. So you'll open that teacher consultation form, and you're going to need to refer back to the user manual for this part. At the top, the 3 vertical dots, you're going to click pre-filled form. You'll scroll down and you'll fill in 3 areas. The student, where it says your email address, you'll put in recipient. Student name, you'll put in student name, and student ID number, you'll put in student ID. And make sure you fill that in just the way it is in the user manual. Scroll all the way to the bottom and click Get Link. And then you have to click to copy the link. You'll go back to your form and you'll paste that link into your data tracker. In order to use the forms, you have to make sure your sharing settings are set up correctly. So in your drive, find the student work samples folder that's inside the folder you created. At the right, you'll click the 3 dots and click share and change the access to anyone with the link as a viewer. Next, you'll go to your teacher consultation form and you'll again click share and make sure that responders are anyone with the link. And then you want to click the purple publish button and publish. And the same for your student work samples sheet. You're going to go to the sharing settings, set it to anyone with the link can respond. And then you're going to publish that form. Next, we're going to add some triggers, and the triggers allow the sheet to do some things for you automatically. And you're going to go to your sheet, and in the top menu, you're going to click Extensions and choose App Script. This is going to open a new window for you. On the left-hand menu, you're going to choose Triggers. And at the bottom right, you're going to click Add Trigger. You'll choose the triggers that you want to add. There are going to be 4. The first one is called On Edit 1, and the event type will be On Edit. And everything else is already set. You don't need to change it. You click Add. Sometimes it will ask you to authorize the scripts again. I'm not sure why this doesn't happen all the time, but if it does ask you to authorize the scripts again, you'll just go through that process again, authorizing the scripts and allowing them. And then when you click Add Script, it will add that script or add that trigger. And you'll see now that you have a trigger listed, and that trigger is On Edit 1. You're going to do this 3 more times for On Edit 2. You're going to choose the name, choose On Edit as the event type, and click Add. And it will add that trigger to your list. You're going to repeat with On Edit 3. The event type should be On Edit and Add. And then one last time with On Edit 4. And those are the 4 triggers that you have to have set up in order for the sheet to run all of the functions that it runs. So make sure that you choose all 4 of those triggers. Then optionally, there are some things that the sheet can do for you automatically. So it can email you due date reminders. If you want it to do that, you'll choose email due date reminders, and that will be a timed trigger. So follow the instructions in the user manual to set up a time trigger for how often you want it to tell you when things are due. And you can also have it automatically send your teacher reminder emails. And that trigger is called auto send emails. And again, it's time driven, and you would do that as a day timer, and choose what time of day you want the teachers to get the emails. They'll only get those emails if you check the box in the sheet that says to send out the emails automatically. Back in your data sheet, you can navigate to the Safeguards tab. And this just has some things that you need to be aware of before you use this sheet. So you'll read each item and you'll check it off that you have read it and understand it. And there are links to relevant information that you might need, but it just ensures that you have set the triggers, that you understand how the sheet works. Do not add any rows or columns to any sheet in this workbook. Once you have checked everything off, you can hide this sheet or you can move it to the end of the sheets, but do not delete it. The last part of setting up your sheet is getting your draft emails ready. So again, you want to refer to the user manual, and you're going to copy the subject line and paste it into a new email. So click compose, enter the subject line copied from the user manual, and then you will copy the body of the email and you can paste that into the body of your email. You can change things in this email, but do not change anything that is in the double curly brackets. Anything in the double curly brackets is being pulled in from your spreadsheet, so just leave that completely alone. But you can change the wording of the other parts of the email, put in your own information, whatever you would like to include in the email is fine to add, as long as you leave the double curly brackets alone. Then once you have the email the way you want it, you just close out that draft email. You can exit out. You don't need to put in any recipients. And you'll do the same thing for the parent email. You'll enter the subject line, and then you'll copy the body of the email and paste it into the body of your email. And again, you can make changes to the wording of the email, but leave everything in the double curly brackets alone. You'll see that both of those are now in your draft folder, and they will just stay there forever. Okay, we are finished with the basics and we can get into actually using the sheet. Let's check out the Setup tab. This tab is going to hold just some basic information. We've already entered things like the URL addresses that are needed. You should have entered your discipline and your name. If you want to be able to email your invoice to someone, you can enter an email address here or multiple email addresses separated by a comma. And once you have done that, you'll check the box next to email invoice to. Even if you have email addresses there, if the box is not checked, it will not email the invoices. And you can do the same thing for your semi-logs. If you need to email your semi-logs at the end of the month to a secretary or someone else, you can put in an email address and check the box, or uncheck it if you do not want your semi-logs emailed. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see an area for teacher information. You're going to just enter all of your teachers' names and email addresses, and then you can put in your room number. And this brings the room number over to the schedule tab so that it's easier to find your kids when it's time to go pick them up. So just go through one at a time, entering your teachers' names, their email addresses, and their room numbers. You can also put in the name of the district. This isn't entirely necessary. I was going to set it up so you could use one sheet for multiple districts, but I lost steam before I got to that part. Then over to the right, you'll see an area where you can fill in information for various drop-down lists in the notes template. So you can put in different moods. You can add or delete whatever type of moods you want to include, locations, anything in this area. You can delete it, you can change it, you can do whatever you like in this area. And it will fuel the drop down menus in the notes template. The sheet is also set up to help you track your semi billing. If you're in New Jersey, all of that is already entered for you in a different tab. But if you are somewhere else, you may want to enter your own information. So here is where you would enter the procedure and the areas covered. So you may need to enter a procedure multiple times so that you can include multiple areas covered. So if there's treatment for a group, you can include language and articulation. You would put treatment group twice, once for language, once for articulation. Then you might put treatment individual, once for language, once for articulation. And those will fuel also drop down menus in the notes template. It's time to enter some students into your student roster. So, in order to do this, you will navigate to the student roster tab and you can enter students two ways. First, you can enter them manually, where you can just type in the student name and all of their information. And then be sure to check the box if the student is active. And if the student moves away or is no longer on your caseload, you can uncheck that box so that they are no longer active. And then you'll fill in the information for that student, including their pronouns, so that the notes template can write up the paragraph with the appropriate pronouns. You'll enter all of the information about their treatment. If a student has two mandates, for instance, if they come once as in a group and once individually, you'll enter that student into your roster two times. One time for their group entry and one time for their individual entry. Enter the parent email address so that the parents can get those emails. You can enter multiple email addresses separated by a comma. And you'll choose a teacher for that student. You can choose two teachers. Sometimes students have more than one teacher. And if that student has a signed photo release, you would check the photo release box. You can sort your roster by different criteria. At the top, you'll see a sort option, and you choose what type of sorting you want to do by the last name, by the teacher, by the grade, and then you will choose which option you want and then click the ABC button, and that will sort the roster in the way that you chose. Another thing you can do right now is click the button that says update students to the student work form, and that will put all the active students in the form. This happens automatically every time you open your data sheet, but if you want to update the students right away into that student work form, you can just click the button. An easier way to enter students in your student roster is with a bulk update. If your district uses Frontline IEP, you can use this option. First, refer to the user manual for the instructions because you need to create a report in IEP Direct. You're going to go into IEP Direct, choose the listings option, and then click New, and you're going to create a new listing. Look at the user manual for all the things that need to be in that listing, and you're going to choose them from IEP Direct in the order that they're listed in the user manual. So you'll just go through and choose each item from the available fields in IEP Direct and add them to your listing. Once you have added everything you need, you'll click Next Step and you will name your listing. And this way, the next time you want to pull it, you can just go to your listing and run it. You don't have to create it all over again. So you'll go to the next step, which is how you want to group them. This one doesn't really matter. I usually group by student last name just because it seems easy. Next step again. And here is where we tell the listing which students we want. So you're going to choose latest document. In the school year, you're going to choose prompt, and then you're going to choose and. And in the next box, you're going to choose SDP latest status is equal to receiving services, or SDP latest status is equal to pending. Then you're going to choose the bottom and, not the one inside the box, but the next one. And you will choose related service, RS related service, change the equals to contains. And then you're going to type in that box, either speech or occupational or physical. You don't want to write out the whole thing of like speech therapy. You just want anything that contains speech. And that way you'll get speech consultation, you'll get speech integrated, you'll get all the speech things. And you can do that with speech, occupational, physical, counseling, whatever you have. Then optionally, you can choose the bottom and again and choose TR placement location 1. And this is if you are in 2 schools in your district, you can choose TR placement location 1 is equal to and choose a school, and then click the and inside the box and TR placement location 1. That would be an or inside the box. TR placement location 1 is equal to a different school. So if your district has 8 schools, but you're at 2 of them, you can say, I only want the kids that are at these 2 schools. Then you're going to choose next again. You're going to enter the value for the school year that you want to look up. And then at the last screen, be sure to click the save icon. This way you can go back into listings and pull up your listing whenever you need and run it. Then you're going to choose the Excel icon, and that will give you an Excel spreadsheet of your results. So you'll open that spreadsheet. You'll go up to File, Save As. Choose where you want to save it. I usually just leave it right where it is in the downloads file. It really doesn't matter. And then in the save as type, you're going to choose CSV, delimited. Click save, and you'll click OK. And it is saved now. So the next thing you need to do is go to your email, and you're going to compose a new email. You're going to, in the to field, you're going to put your own email address. You're going to send it to yourself. The subject has to be update student roster. So make that your subject line, and then you're just going to attach that CSV file that you just saved. So you'll click the attach button, make sure that you choose the one that is comma separated values, and then attach it and send it to yourself. And do not open that email. Just leave it there, go back to your spreadsheet, navigate to the bulk updates tab. You're going to choose one of the options at the top, whichever one is most appropriate to your needs. Check off that option and then click Update Student Roster. That script will run for you. It does take a little bit of a minute. It's going to go find that email, take the spreadsheet, get the information off it, and fill it into your student roster. So if you go back to your student roster, everything is already filled in for you. You just would need to fill in your teacher names and your district if you want to fill in the district. So you can go through your students then and put in who everybody's teacher is. And do the same for the school district. And then you're going to check off if those students are semi-eligible, if you need to do semi-billing for them, and whether or not they have assigned photo release, because that will make a difference in the student work samples that are included with the email. You can also then click the update names to student work form if you choose, and that will put all of the active students' names already preloaded into your student work samples form. The next tab that you'll see is called the date tracker, and this helps you track all of your dates for your students. So in your spreadsheet, once you have filled in all the information in your student roster, you can go to the date tracker tab. And if you have used a bulk update for your student roster, you can click that Use Bulk Update button and then just click Update Active Students from Student Roster. And it will find all the active students for you and it will fill them in along with their dates if you use the bulk update. If you didn't use the bulk update, you will have to fill in the dates on your own. If you check the send email reminder for due dates box, it will automatically email you when annual reviews or reevaluations are coming up to let you know. You can also sort your list by any of the columns. Just choose an option in the sort by box and then click the ABC button, and it will sort those students for you so that you can change your list however it is easiest for you to view it. If you do add a new student to your caseload, you'll just go to the student roster and add the student and their information into the student roster. Make sure that you check that student off as active. And then when you go back to your date tracker, if you type in that student's name and it doesn't match the roster exactly, it will highlight red. So the easiest way is to not type in the date tracker, but to just use the Update Active Students from Student Roster button. If you click that button, then it will look through your student roster, find any new students that are active, and it will add them to the date tracker for you. And then you would just need to add in the dates for that student on your own. The next tab that you'll see is the Student Goals tab. You will need to enter your students' goals so that they can be used in the note template. So you just choose a student. The dropdown has all of your active students in it. And then you can type in the student's goals. You can also enter the student's goals with a bulk update, just like you did with the student roster, which is much faster and easier if your district does use Frontline IEP. Once you've typed in your goals, you're going to click the Save button at the top. Make sure you just always click that. And then you can choose a new student from the drop-down list. It takes just a second to load. And then you can type in goals for the second student. And be sure to always click the Save button every time you make any changes. So once you've changed that, you can go back to the first student. If once you choose his name, you'll see that his goals will reappear and you can change those goals. You can delete goals or add new goals, whatever you need to do for that student. And then again, always click the Save button. Now we are finally at the point where we can use the note template. This is the tab that you will use the most, and it's where you'll keep your daily session notes every day. So you just go into the note template and you choose the correct fields, the date, how many minutes the session lasted, the location, and all of these drop downs again are controlled by the information in the setup tab. So if you want to change or add or delete any of those options, you just do that in the setup tab. You can choose your session activity from the dropdown that comes from the session activity tab, or you can type in a new session activity. And if you want to save it so you can use it again later, you'll check the box. If you're doing multiple things, you can also choose something from the session activity tab in addition to typing in. And then you choose your student, you choose a goal for that student, whether or not you kept data on that goal for that session. You'll choose your cues, and you can choose more than one cue and your level of independence. And then you'll do the same if you have a second goal. Down below, you can choose things like their participation, their mood, whether they progressed. You'll choose your procedure and then the areas that you addressed. And then you can add in another student. So up to 5 students can go on one session note. And you'll just do the same thing for the second student, choosing the goal that they addressed, whether or not you kept data. If you check no, it will blank out the next fields, which some days you're teaching the skill, so you're not tracking data for that day, and that's fine. You'll choose their participation, mood, progress, the procedure, and the areas covered. For areas covered, you can choose multiple things. So you may have done some articulation and some language, or some semantic language and some pragmatic language, whatever is appropriate, you fill that in. Back up at the top, there's a space where you can add notes that apply to the whole group. So everyone in that group will have this note included in their parent email. And this is where you can just describe what happened in the session that day or what kinds of activities you did. And then in the area for each student, there's a space for notes, and that note only goes in that student's email. So this is where you can write something specifically about that particular student, and you don't have to fill that in. You can leave it blank, and you'll notice that anywhere that you can or should be writing will be highlighted orange, just to remind you that that's a field that you might want to fill in. Once you are finished, you click the Save button, and it does take a moment for it to run all of the various processes for the things that it's going to do, but eventually it will save that note, and then it will clear out the form so that you can start the note for your next group. So then for your next group, again, you choose the students, you choose the date, the minutes, all of the relevant things. And this is where you can start to fill this in ahead of time, the day before, or maybe in the morning. You can, if you know the activities that you're going to do with that group, you can fill in some of the beginning information about what you'll be working on with that group of students. And then you can check the Save for Later box. And what that does is it will save all of the information that you have entered. And in the pull-up field, if you click that arrow, you'll see all of the information that you have saved for later. You can pull it up. It will load the information that you had previously saved. And then you can continue to enter new information or finish the information that you have done. So if the group is finished and now you want to put in what actually happened, you can fill in that information. And then you can, once again, you can check save for later again. And if you're not quite finished, or you can check save, and it will then save that note finally and take the student, that group, off of the saved for later list. One thing to note with the saved for later list is that it does save it based on the date, the type of group, and the students in that group. So if you save for later, this child Ronald was going to have an individual group, but it turns out he was absent. So you change his individual session to an absent session in the session type, and you save it. When you go back to the pull-up list, it will still be on the list because it was saved as an individual session. So you would just need to then pull up that individual session. And once it loads, you can check the box that says delete from saved for later, and it will give you a pop-up to make sure that's what you want to do. And you click yes, and then it will take that entry off of the saved for later list. Once you have saved some session notes, you can go back to your data folder and you'll see a new folder called All Service Logs. And each day will have its own folder. And in that folder will be all of the service logs that you saved for sessions that occurred on that day. Another great feature of the spreadsheet is the ability to include photos of student or of students. So to do that, you would just go to your form of student work samples, and all of your students will be listed there. You choose the student, the date of the work sample, and then you're going to choose the work from your laptop. You'll just take a picture and then you can attach it to that form. You can attach up to 5 photos. And then you submit the form and it will automatically be attached in that parent email and in the student overview for that student for that day. You can also open the student work form on your phone, choose the student, enter the date. Just be careful when you enter the date. I tend to fat finger it a lot and then it will not match up and it will not be included. So double check that you've entered your date correctly. And then you can choose your photos straight from your phone's camera roll and just check off the photos that are relevant to that student and submit them. In the Set Schedule tab, you can set your schedule and make changes and alter it. So you just go to Set Schedule, choose which week you want to work on from the drop-down list. And if you have not worked on that week before, you will need to enter in the times of your groups. That's blank because everybody has different timing for their schedule, so I didn't bother to fill that in. But you put in the times that you start your groups, and then you just use the drop-down menu to enter the students that are in that group. And it will automatically fill in the teacher name and the room number for you. So you just go through and any students that are going to be in that group, you enter them in for the week. In the notes section, you can put in very brief notes. This isn't like a lesson planning area. This is just something very brief. Like if you want to remember that that session is push-in or that there's going to be a shelter in place during that group period, you can put those notes in and then you click the save button. And remember, just click save all the time. Then, if if your schedule doesn't change much and you just want to copy that schedule to another week, you check the copy to week of box, you choose the week that you want to copy it to, and you click save. And then it will save that exact schedule to the week that you chose. It does take a second to run, and then that box will clear out. You can go to the week that you just filled in and pull it up, and you'll see that your schedule is there. If you need to make changes, maybe that week, a different child is going to be in a different group, you can make that change. You can add a new group and you can click save again, and it will save it for just that week. If you want to save those changes to additional weeks, you would again check the copy to week of box and it would copy it all over to another week for you. If you go back to your original week, you'll see that those new changes that you made aren't included in the original week. They're only in the week that you saved it to. So the next thing you can do is you can print out a copy of your schedule. You can print out today, tomorrow, or you can print out the whole week that's showing. That is extremely tiny. I don't usually do that, but you just choose your option. You click the print button and it will give you a PDF of your schedule for just that day that you can then print. If you're anything like me, the minute you walk out of your office door, you completely forget who you are supposed to be picking up, what room they're in, what day of the week is it. I have no idea. So I added a feature where you can add your groups to your Google Calendar. So you would just go to the add to calendar, choose the week that you want to look at, choose the groups that you want to add to your calendar, and click the add to calendar button. And then if you look at your Google Calendar, those groups have been added in along with any notes, their room numbers. So you can just pull that up on your phone in the hallway and remember where you're supposed to be going and who you are supposed to be picking up. If you make any changes to a group, for instance, if you add or remove a student, or if you want to add in a note about that group, you can just go back to your set schedule tab, add in that information or make any changes, save it, and go back to the add to calendar tab and choose that group where you made the changes and click add to calendar again, and it will update that calendar event for you. We all know that teachers have a lot going on. They don't always remember exactly when their kids are going to come to speech or occupational or physical therapy. So you can send them an email reminder quickly and easily. Once your schedule is set, you'll just go to the teacher reminder email tab, choose when you want to send the reminders for, if you want today's sessions, tomorrow's sessions, or a specific date. Check off the teachers that you want to remind and click the Send Emails tab. You can also set these up to go automatically, and that will send it to all the teachers, not just the ones you select. So you click the Send Emails button, and it will send an email to that teacher that looks like this. It will be what you have set up in your draft, and it will tell them which students are coming at what time. And if you set it up to be sent out automatically, you never have to think about it again. Another great feature of this sheet is the ability to easily send parent emails for each session. So once you have saved your session notes, you'll just go to the parent email tab and choose when you want the session notes to be sent for. You check off the students that you want to send, and you check off if you want to include any student work samples that you've uploaded through that form. If no work samples are listed and you know you uploaded some, check the student roster. If there's no photo release, it will not include photos for that student. So you just check off the photo release. You'll see that that work sample is listed there. Check off the student if you want to send the email, and then you can add in any additional information that you want to include that isn't already included in the note. and you just click the Send Email button. And then it will send the parent an email of all of the session notes, the additional information, and include the examples of student work. And that email looks like this. They'll get an email that says, here are the details about your student's session, anything that was included in the session note, any of the pictures of the student or of the work that they did, and it's done with just the click of a button. If you do bill Medicaid, the semi-entries tab can help you keep track of that. If you don't bill Medicaid, you can just hide this tab. So on this tab, you will choose a date and it will show you all the dates that you have entries for kids who are semi-eligible according to your student roster. And this tab is laid out so that everything is in the same order that you would need to enter it in the New Jersey Medicaid billing system. So you can just copy paste each of the fields into EasyTrack or EdPlan or whatever system you use. And then you can check off that you have entered that student. As you enter the students, you can check it off and click Save. And that way it will help you keep track of which students you have billed for and which you have not billed for yet. If you are in New Jersey, the New Jersey procedures and areas addressed are already uploaded for you. So you can just click the button in the areas and procedures tab and it will automatically load those in. And if you change your discipline, it will load the correct procedures and areas covered for that discipline. If you're not in New Jersey, then you would leave that button unchecked. And in the Setup tab, you can add in your own procedures and areas covered that are relevant to your state. The Student Overview tab just gives you a preview of any student's progress note. In that tab, you will choose the progress period that you want to see information for, and you can choose any 2 dates. And you will choose a student from the drop-down menu. And it will fill in all of the information for that student. So it will say how many sessions they had and include their session notes and any progress information. The Progress Notes tab lets you quickly generate a progress note for all of the students on your caseload. You just go to the Progress Notes tab and you will check off any students that you want to create a progress note for. Make sure that the dates in the student overview are the dates that you want the progress note for. That is where it does come from. And check off whether you want that automatically emailed to the parent. And then click the Generate Progress Notes button. You can also add any additional information that you want to include in the summary area of the progress note, and then you'll click the Generate Progress Notes button. It does take a minute. It's creating a PDF of that student overview and also emailing it to the parent if you chose to have it emailed. So once the PDF is completed, you can go to your folder. You'll see a Progress Notes folder, and that progress note will be included in the folder, just the way you see it in the student overview. And if you have checked off for it to be emailed to the parent will get an email with that PDF attached. The Save Data tab is where the information from your note template is saved. So once you save data from your note template, it goes to the Save Data tab and you can change it here. It's not really recommended, but if you accidentally saved a group before you were ready, you can find that entry and delete it. Or you can make changes to an entry if you noticed a spelling error or if you wanted to add additional information. You can do that in the Saved Data tab. The teacher consultation feature, I'm not going to lie, it's not my favorite only because I haven't yet figured out a way to let people enter their own questions into the survey form, but I'll talk about it for a minute. In case you do want to use it, the way it works is if any student has consultation as their service delivery model and you set up that feature, it will send an email to the teacher on the schedule indicated by the IEP that has a personalized Google form for that student so that the teacher fills out the Google form to say how the student is doing with their speech areas. That information then goes back to your form and you can see the answers in the consultation responses form. It will also be included in the progress note in the student overview, and you can also email that to the parent as a service delivery note if you wish. The service summary tab is a great tab if you just want a quick snapshot of all the services you've provided for the year or for a time period. You just click your start and end dates, and it will show you who has had services during that time, how many were mandated, and how many were received, and then how many were received in each month. The earnings dashboard is specifically for contractors. If you don't need this tab, you can hide it and the invoice tab. So on this tab, you'll enter your rates. So for each different rate that you have, you'll enter the service and the rate for that service. And you can put in for your daily sessions, for your evaluations, if you provide compensatory services, anything that has a different rate, you would list that rate here. Then you would enter how quickly your payment is expected after the invoice is sent. And then each day that you work, you would enter an invoice entry. So you would enter the date, the activity, the quantity, and then you click the Save Invoice Entry button, and it will save that entry. And if you do two different types of things on the same day, you would enter two different entries for that day. So you might do speech services as well as two evaluations, and then you save the invoice entry. And you do that for each day that you want to include on your invoice. As you make entries, you'll see a graph showing you your earnings to date. And if you check the setup tab and make sure that you have checked the box that says email invoice and you have the correct email addresses listed there, you can go back to the earnings dashboard, choose a month that you want to have your invoice processed for, and click the process invoice and semi-logs button. It will come up with a confirmation that you want to go ahead and process that, and then it will save your invoice as a PDF. If you scroll down, you'll see a link to your invoice so that they're easy to find. You'll see orange because I didn't have it all filled out, but then that is the PDF of your invoice. And that invoice PDF you will see was emailed to whoever was in that um, email address field on the setup page. So that makes it easy to turn your invoices in very, very quickly. The invoice tab lets you see a preview of your invoice. And again, if you don't need this, you can hide this tab. You do need to fill in a few fields. So at the top, you would put in the school district that the invoice is for. You would fill in your address information, city, state, zip, the date of board approval. I have often found that they want that. And then I usually copy and paste the board article underneath that. So whatever it says about approving me for speech services goes in that field. And then you can choose any month and it will show you your entries. It will list your therapy logs with the student initials and ID number, as well as what type of therapy was done. And that is the whole data tracker. I hope you get a lot of use out of it. And if you have a minute, let me know what you think. Thanks.